How's it going? We're back with another battery here. This is the CATL Ford Mustang Mach-E. It is the 78 kilowatt hour pack, which I was right last time. It was pretty close, I said 77, but we're gonna do another tear down kind of exposure and see what's under here.
Yeah, and this is the, like you mentioned earlier, the CATL. This is actually the newer standard range. So the Ford switched from the NMC standard range to an LFP standard range. The hump is back because they did need that extra space for it, but the battery does have a little bit more power from the standard range of the NMC. However, it's not quite the performance as the extended range. So that's a little bit of quick history. So the newer ones came with this one. I think this is a 2024. I could be wrong. I think the other ones up until that point were NMC, and then the standard range changed to LFP. The year could be different, but that's the general idea. So
let's get it off.
Let's get it off. You don't collect them right away? All right.
Ready?
Turn around so it doesn't catch them. So, you're gonna be in the video? Go ahead.
Good job, boys. Yes, thank you.
Wow, we've never heard that one before. We did.
Caught that.
That'll be replaying for a couple of years. That's the CEO, our third brother. Oldest. Yeah, he's boss man. So here we have the CATL pack. We're gonna pull one of these covers up. Right away we see 3 large modules and 3 smaller modules. So we'll take a look at the differences between them. For whatever reason, we got multiple BMSs. All 3 are different. CATL does like to do that. I'm not sure why, but we're more concerned about the batteries themselves. So we'll go ahead and take a look. Cooling is similar. It looks like actually...
It's similar, but it's different.
I mean, it's similar in the fact that it's cooling the bottom of the battery, but it is, in fact, mounted it's built into the case, it looks like, which CATL likes to do. And I don't know, I see epoxy down in there. Let's see if the camera can you get down in there from this angle? The blue turquoise looking
there's
stuff.
some right here as well.
So that means you're good luck getting these modules out. This is gonna be a big pain in the butt if I'm right.
We're gonna try it.
After the last one, I don't even want to. That is a epoxy type of thermal interface versus a, I don't know, it was like a not a res, well, this is the epoxy or resin. That one is like a silicone-ish. But essentially this is hardened and it's holding the battery in place. And they did the same thing with like the Fisker battery where they glued them right down. There is some stuff to get where you can like flood it with it to get the battery out, but I'm worried that it'll damage the battery in the process.
Let's take one of these off. I want to see inside.
Yeah, we'll pull the lid off. We'll pull that lid off and then we'll see how it goes.
Now that the lid is off, a couple of questions. First thing, do you think this is all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive?
I think all because we have an additional connector in here that was missing in the last one, this one here. So I think that might be the indicator of whether there's an additional motor or not. Could be wrong, but that's probably it. Yeah, so a couple disappointing things. Well, first, let's talk about the modules. 3 different types. So we have 3 that are 3 that are 24S, which is this one. We got 12 cells running one way and it loops around and comes back. Bus bars are on the end that Paul is standing next to. And on this side, we have the BMS harness. Now, this ribbon cable is actually one of the newer ways that the CATL has been doing this for a while. Others are starting to follow. The temperature sensors are fitted into it as well, and they are actually fused. You can see a little squiggly in there, right there, and there, and there. And that basically, you know, if the wire harness got shorted anywhere along the way, you'd have those fuses burning up wherever it did get shorted. And it is something that's pretty easily replaceable if you have one. You know, I mean, if you needed to, you can solder. If you have the proper equipment, it looks like a spot weld, also easy to do. Problem is availability. You know, you can't just go and buy this from Ford for the repair. But again, if you're in a collision and it's shorted out, this is your least concern. You got some bigger problems.
It's a much larger module, probably the same thing as the last one for reuse, like we talked about in our last video.
Yeah, well, let's finish up with, so this is a 24S. These in the back, we have 3 that are 12S. We got one here on the top, which is a good indication of the size of the cell too. You can see where the cell divides. sides there. You got one on top, one on bottom, and one slightly to the right of it. Now the issue, not the issue, there are two different ones. This one on the bottom and this one on top are both left-handed modules. We can see, yeah, there's a little L on here. The one on the bottom, the terminals are coming out of a different direction, so it must be a right-handed module. So now we at least know that there's, 3 of the 24S's, and they are all identical. 2 of the left-handed 12S and 1 right-handed 12S. All in all, 12S, 24S, LFP, totally usable, very sought after. The 12S makes a good 36 volt battery, kind of like what we talked about earlier. Any 36 volt doubled up makes a great 72 volt battery. This is a great 72 volt battery. Sounds amazing until we get to the next point. Paul, you want to bring us up to speed?
It's glued down pretty heavily. I screwed the brackets. We tried to yank on it a little bit. It's not budging.
Yeah, so CATL has this thing where they love to epoxy down the cells to the base. You guys saw us in the other Mustang batteries where we're yanking up on that module, trying to get it out and deforming the coolant plate. Well, that's like, it's not dry and it's not an epoxy. It's malleable still, and we're able to do that. This is an actual epoxy, meaning like, if you've ever used epoxy, you're chipping that off. And maybe if it was just on the perimeter, we could chip away at it, but they've flooded the compartment as a heat transfer epoxy, right? It stabilizes the cells, it fits the module in there better so it doesn't go anywhere, and it takes the heat out of the cell into the cooling plate, or cools the battery through it. So it's a thermal interface as well. But the problem is, mechanically, you're not getting in here and removing those, you're not removing this module whole. And I don't know of any easy way of getting this out without actually damaging it, right? We can do this with damaging it, no problem, right? We discharge it, we'll yank it out. If we're recycling it, we don't care. And actually, this whole thing is aluminum. Maybe we won't even bother, right? If you had a whole battery shredder, this whole thing would get discharged and thrown in there. Aluminum is going to come out the other end anyways. And it's a soft metal, so nobody cares. But for Second Life, it makes it near impossible. If you succeed in pulling it out in one piece, it'd be great, but that's where it becomes cost ineffective, cost prohibitive.
So the big module is kind of awkward. There's some banding. You think we can take them apart and use them individually?
Well, we run into the same issue. How are we going to get the individual cells out?
But if, let's say we do remove it from the epoxy,
right?
So you can see the individual cells, that'd kind of be more practical?
Yeah, you can build whatever you want out of it, right? You compress them and you weld them, or you weld terminals onto them. You can reconfigure them however you want for whatever project. And for sure, doable. But on the battery scale, you gotta, especially on this, you gotta ask, is it worth it? The batteries right now, LFP, CATL used, because this is gonna be used. Maybe it's not as good as whatever's on, some Chinese websites, but you can get them for way cheaper than by the time we go through all that. So this is a bust. This is a bad, not a very good rebuildable design, built in a way to prevent people like us from trying to fix this battery. If it was a temperature sensor fault or, contactor issue, BMS issue, we can fix that, no problem. But as soon as you have a cell failure in this thing, there's a good chance that we're talking about a whole pack failure, essentially. We're non-recoverable.
So what you're saying is it's purposely designed to make it difficult to rebuild.
Yeah, they saw what we did and they say, how do we prevent them from fixing this?
We'll figure it out.
I'm sure there's some solvents that will help dissolve that. I know they already exist. The problem is, will they also damage the batteries or not? Are they, because now we're dealing with high voltage. Last thing we want to do is use a conductive liquid that it's supposed to remove these batteries for us, and then find out
no
that
battery to remove.
yeah, or corrosive, right? That's the other thing. Something like to get epoxy out, you're using something that's quite corrosive on that. You end up corroding the cell casing and it'll eat right through the cell.
It's interesting they have rivets here too. I haven't seen that before.
Yeah, and the rivets, the bracket on the rivet, oh, that's aluminum, yeah. Cast. It looks like they pieced this together from like what they had laying around.
It is welded and then riveted. Interesting. What else? Do you have anything else you want to add to this pack?
Same as before. It looks like it bolts right up into the battery. The connectors, everything looks the same. You mentioned the kilowatt hours, how I was wrong. Rubbed it in real nice.
It's rare. I got to use it when I can.
Yeah, I think that's all I really have to say.
We don't know for sure now, but in the future we will know if we can swap
modules on this or even pull them out.
But putting this extended pack into the standard pack.
I see what you're asking. Yeah.
Upgrade.
Yeah, that's something that once we have a vehicle where, that's the next thing we're trying is how can we mix and match between different styles of batteries. Obviously, if the connector is missing, if we take it out and put it into another one, is that something that we can swap where everything will still be happy? Can the batteries even handle the extra power of the extra motor, or maybe they're designed not to, and that's why the connector is missing on the other pack. And then once they switch to the LFP can handle outlet, and that's why the connector's back. That's something that could also
maybe, or maybe the LFP is just for all-wheel drive cars.
depends on what they were selling. I didn't do that much research into the cars. I'm a battery guy, not the Ford Mustang car guy, unfortunately. But if you have one and you're willing to go through an upgrade, and you know, if you're still under dealer warranty, we can't guarantee it won't be voided. But if you want to give it a shot, we're more than happy to put a battery in it and see what happens. Especially if you're in the Kansas City area, we'll find out
Sooner than later.
sooner than later. I guess the biggest visual difference, obviously, the aluminum on all the batteries, it was all aluminum, but this one's not painted. So if you're seeing these packs, you know it's a Mustang Mach-E. The one with the aluminum frame is the one that is non-rebuildable at the moment.
CATL LFP.
Yeah, CATL LFP is the aluminum frame, and then the lid was steel. The other ones, the lid was the plastic.
Yes, and then
lot
you mentioned the
heavier.
lid. It's very thin and flimsy.
Thin, flimsy, and heavy.
This doesn't. It's like the Tesla has
The micro
gap.
sheets,
Yeah.
and then this is just some flimsy
just plastic.
I mean, it's NMC. It's a lot safer. Maybe that's why they did that, but
And instead of glue, they have just a little gasket. So
Little
that's
gasket.
convenient. We have them. They're easy to open.
yeah, it's bolted down like this.
So we can do it at Fisker at like 10 a.m.
Do we have one here?
No, but we can have Nikolai get one first thing in the morning.
Because I know the Audi and the Jag, I don't know if they're glued. They're glued, yeah. That's gonna take a lot longer. But I know the Fisker's gonna be like this. And I'm gonna bet that the Fisker is also gonna be glued down like these, or epoxied down, I should say.
Is it
Where they're-
also CATL?
That is a CATL pack. So, but it's an NMC CATL pack.
That's interesting.
Lately, and CATL, the last 2 or 3 years, they've made a lot of NMC packs.
What other packs does CATL make?
Actually, that's a good question. I have a Subaru Solterra battery that has a CATL pack.
Well,
And
that'll
it-
be our next teardown.
And it shares that battery with Toyota's electric car.
BRZ.
BZ4X. I had the letters right, just the wrong order.
BZ4X.
So BZ4X. So the Toyota BZ4X actually has 2 versions. It has the all-wheel drive and the rear-wheel drive, or front-wheel drive. Let's say 2-wheel and 4-wheel. And the 2-wheel is a Toyota-made, Panasonic-made battery pack, and the 4-wheel is the CATL battery pack. And because Subaru partnered with them as a collaboration on the same, the Subaru Solterra is same as the Toyota
BZRX4.
BZ4X. Because it's the same vehicle, that's why Subaru always likes the all-wheel drive, so they only have the CATL
Panasonic.
pack, paid CATL pack. That's the higher power output battery, and that's what'll power all 4 wheels. But then the 2-wheel drive one is the Panasonic version of the battery. So we can take that one apart tomorrow and see what that looks like.
Perfect. Give us a like, follow, subscribe, and check out the next teardown.